I remember, don't worry. How could I ever forget? In the Air Tonight, Phil Collins. They say she's still in there, even though they dragged her frail, gray, lifeless body out decades ago. The clay hole. What used to be a popular summer getaway in our own backyard is now just a hidden swamp littered with no swimming allowed signs. Most of the newer Cook Rapids residents don't even know it existed, and many older residents want to keep it that way. They even planted trees around its perimeter, hoping to completely block the embarrassment from view. The clay hole may have died out long ago, but its legend lives on through tragic tales, odd occurrences, and, as in my case, near-death experiences. Mike G., July 2023. The following is based on a true story. Some of the names of people and places have been altered. Summer vacation, 1983, Cook Rapids, Minnesota.
I'm up to my chest in water. Dad has a stopwatch and he's timing us to see who can hold their breath the longest. It's not really fair because I have asthma, but I can't let my sister beat me. So I take a huge breath, pinch my nose, and go under. About 30 seconds in, and I can tell I'm not going to make it much longer. My chest begins to ache, and I can feel my heart pounding in my brain. I'm forced to give up. Bubbles shoot out of my mouth when I exhale. For some reason, the water starts heating up and keeps getting hotter and hotter until it's practically boiling when I reach the surface. Everything got so much brighter out here. Something's really wrong. The sun behind Dad has doubled in size. My sister turns around and points at it in terror as it continues growing like it's going to fill up the whole sky. Dad has a fearful sadness in his eyes. It's the first time I see him look completely helpless. We try to run to him, but the water turns thick like quicksand. He reaches his arms out just as the sun melts all his skin off like pancake batter. I start crying. The rest of him falls off his bones until he's just a skeleton standing in the water. My sister screams and screams as the enormous sun swallows us. And that's when I finally wake up.
I heat up. I can't cool down. Abracadabra, Steve Miller Band.
It's been miserable in Cook Rapids. Temps in the upper 90s, high humidity, and very little wind, making my Star Wars pillow and bedding all sweaty in the morning. The heat makes me drowsy, but I can't sleep in damp sheets, so I just end up tossing and turning, having these strange snooze dreams, until Mom finally yells for us to get out of bed. That's what Dad calls them, snooze dreams. He says it's what happens when you try to go back to sleep when you're supposed to get up. I guess it confuses your brain or something. I usually feel better after putting cool water on my face and then sitting in front of the living room fan, sometimes making robot voices by talking into the blade. I am Iron Man. Yesterday I had the clever idea to stand on a chair in front of the refrigerator and hold the freezer door open. It was pure heaven. Felt like I had my own personal air conditioner. But then Dad came in from the garage and put an end to it all. The Price is Right plays on the TV while Mom does everything in our little suburban house with that citrusy smelling stuff. Diane, one of the game's show models, is my second biggest crush. Stephanie Powers from Heart to Heart is number one. Diane is a little prettier, but there's just something about Stephanie's big, bouncy, red curls. I bet she smells like that cherry spray they put in your car at the car wash. Mom says I'm way too young to have these weird crushes, but Dad seems to understand. Now the roar of the old Hoover fills the air. Good luck going back to sleep if Mom's vacuum cleaner or Dad's handsaw starts up this early. I peel myself out of bed and make a beeline to the kitchen. There, waiting on the table that now smells like lemons, is a variety pack of cereals. You know, those mini boxes all plastic wrapped together? I grab the Frosted Flakes before my sister Lucy can, and I don't feel bad, since she would have totally taken them if she got here first. Today, for once, I'm the early bird, so I get the worm. That's a phrase my dad says whenever I complain about waking up early for school.
The early bird gets the worm.
I remember the first time he said it and thought, yeah, but who wants a stupid worm? Lucy's left with only Honey Smacks and Product 19. Honey Smacks always taste like they're burnt, and Product 19 is about as bland and boring as it gets. Makes me wonder how bad the first 18 versions were. I'd almost rather eat the box. I mean, 2 spoonfuls of sugar, and I bet you couldn't even tell the difference. Last week, Lucy took the rest of the Fruit Loops and left me with the last of the plain old malto meal, which is really just hot wheat pudding. As Mom cooked it, I peeked over the edge of the pan and saw it slowly bubbling like boiling tar. Gross. I poured most of it down the sink and ate a banana popsicle from the freezer instead. Luckily, Mom was busy bleaching the bathtub, and Lucy was eating her cereal in the living room. Getting caught by Mom might mean a whack to my butt with a long wooden kitchen spoon, something our mom did to her as a kid in Korea. And if Lucy saw what I did, she'd threaten to tell unless I gave her something she wanted. Usually some candy, a quarter from my piggy bank, or in this case, the last box of Frosted Flakes. I think grown-ups call that blackmail or something. A sibling who has a secret on you is super dangerous. Mom clicks off the Hoover and asks if we want to go to the beach later that afternoon. Yes, I yell from the table with a mouthful of sweet, milky flakes. Lucy, finally leaving her room, nods in agreement while rubbing her eyes and looking a bit upset at having to wake up to the rude sound of the vacuum. Mom already knows what our answer will be, but I think she likes to hear the excitement in our voices when we say yes. We'd never miss out on a trip to the beach, especially on an extra hot day like today. It's either swim in the cool water of the clay hole or burn up in this sauna of a house. Mom's mood changes when she gets to spend the afternoon laying on the sunny sand. She smiles more and actually gives us money to buy pop at the City Hall building that's next to the beach. Pop is what us Minnesotans call soda. Weird, I know, since when you say Minnesota, it sounds like you're saying mini soda. So you'd think we just go with that, but nope, it's pop. Sunkissed is our favorite. I blame the TV commercial. They play Good, Good, Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys, while a bunch of grown-ups drink bottles of the orange stuff and play frisbee on the sand. Even the dog makes a catch. I guess they kind of have me trained like a dog now, feeling thirsty every time I hear the tune. My dad says that the clay hole is an unnatural creation that was dug out by machines to get clay for bricks. Eventually, rain and melted snow filled it up. One of the cranes got stuck, and they just left it in there, and all the fluids and stuff leaked out into the water, making it toxic. I've also heard people say that a young girl named Chloe drowned there while swimming one night. Dad didn't believe it, though, and said it was too much of a Quincy dance, that if you switch the letters of her name around, it spells sea hole, like clay hole. Dad's pretty smart. We hear a lot of made-up sounding stories about Cook Rapids. Like my cousin heard one about a kid who died trying to climb the electric tower. He made it about halfway before the electricity sucked him up into the wires and turned him pure white. They found him dead with a terrified look on his face, eyes popped out, mouth wide open, and still shaking. That gave me nightmares for a straight month. I can see that tower from my bedroom window, and when I ride my bike under it, I can actually hear the buzz of the wires. The old man at the gas station warned us about the snapping turtles after asking Mom where we were headed. He said they could bite your fingers or other dangling body parts off in an instant, and that he can't understand why us Cook Rapidians insist on swimming in that toxic pit. He looked real frustrated and then said,
I know we don't have much, especially compared to some of the snooty cities, but it's no reason to get so excited about a damn hole in the ground.
Then he exhaled real hard, shrugged his shoulders and mumbled,
Whatever floats your boats, I guess.
The last part is confusing because there are never any boats at the clay hole. Seems to take a half hour to walk there from home. Longer if we're really excited. We go barefoot on the burning tar path and have to jump on the cool grass every once in a while for relief. Feels the best if someone's running their sprinkler. Sharp rocks and stickers, my school teacher calls them sticker burr, can poke our feet, so we have to be careful and watch where we're going. Mom carries her giant beach bag that's filled with copper tone tanning lotion, her sunglasses, sandals, cigarettes, and towel. Our only job is to carry our sand buckets and toys, and to keep up with Mom. This time I bring He-Man along. It's fun to bury him up to his neck and then watch as the waves come in and cover him up like he's drowning. Some guy on the beach said that I was being sadistic or something. Not sure what that meant, but the look on his face made me think it was a very bad thing. I'm not trying to be sadistic or whatever he said. It just seems like something Skeletor would do while laughing in his evil way. I'm also wearing my He-Man t-shirt. I think I'm the only boy who wears a shirt on the beach. I'm almost too embarrassed to say why, but... Okay, fine. I was born with a sunken-in chest. Don't go telling everyone, please. The doctor said the actual name for it, but it's hard to remember it. Pictus excavation or something. He thinks my chest problem and asthma were caused by Mom smoking while she was pregnant with me. Like me in the Sunkissed ads, she fell for the TV commercials that said that cigarettes were doctor tested and proved, and that 9 out of 10 of them even prefer Camel cigarettes, the kind she still smokes. A silly thought hits me. Hey Mom, the clay hole is kind of like the sunken chest of Cook Rapids. I'm hoping she finds that clever, but she just shakes her head, lights a camel, pulls the bag strap higher up on her shoulder, and keeps walking. She doesn't like how much I talk sometimes. Last week we drove to the store and I brought up the story about Chloe's ghost still living in the water. She shushed me, saying it's bad luck to talk about dead people like that, and if you do, they might float into your bedroom while you're sleeping. Dad laughs when Mom gets like that and says it's just her Korean superstition. Another big word I can't say right.
38 specials caught up in you sounds from a passing Trans Am.
We reach City Hall and walk in with bare feet as Mom puts her cigarette out in the garbage can ashtray. Waiting for us by the front door is the big brown and red Coke machine. I'm on my tiptoes. I could barely reach the coin slot, but I eventually get all 3 quarters in and get 3 ice-cold Sunkissed back. Like usual, Mom's talking to the security guard at the front desk. His name is Dan, but we call him Barney because he looks like Barney Miller from the TV show. He's super tan, with graying hair, and always seems to be whistling. Barn, we sometimes call him that for short, lets us in without shoes because he has a crush on Mom. I know he does because I have a perverted uncle, Uncle Jack, who gets that same goofy look in his eyes whenever he talks to any woman that isn't his wife. When Mom walks away, I also see Barney's eyes look her up and down and then back up again. He doesn't notice that I notice. I don't say anything, but if Dad saw, old Barn would be spitting out his teeth. Wonder if that would make it harder to whistle. It's probably a good idea to stay on his good side though, otherwise I'm sure it would be no shirt, no shoes, no Sunkiss. We soak in the last of the air conditioning, put the orange cans in Mom's bag, and from here it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to the beach. Another saying that Dad uses a lot. The clay hole is usually pretty busy this time of day, but we always find space to set up camp. Mom tosses her huge beach towel on the uneven ground, and we set ours on both sides. Lucy has her Smurf towel, and mine's Rambo shooting an arrow right at you. I pretend to slowly shake sand off it, hoping the pretty girl next to us notices how awesome it is, but she doesn't even turn her head. Girls are kind of tricky. There's a lifeguard today sitting up in that tall, white, paint-chipped wooden chair. There must be some sort of kit they give you when you finish lifeguard school, and he's wearing all of it. The neon sunglasses, the whistle around his neck, little black binoculars, the pink cutoff shirt, sandals, and of course the line of bright sunscreen down the front of his nose. Little orange foam headphones cover his ears, and they're connected to a Walkman cassette player. He might be a lifeguard, but he doesn't seem to be paying any attention to the swimmers, only to his music, his muscles, and the nearby group of giggling girls. I bet he's a Loverboy fan. Just looks like one. Could he even hear us screaming for help while he's rocking out to Working for the Weekend or Turn Me Loose? I doubt it. Mom's finally in her happy place, covered in copper tone, lying on her back with one knee bent upwards, shades on, skin getting redder by the minute. Lucy and I crack open the orange pop and I empty half the can in several huge gulps, sending a cool fizzy burn down my throat. Then we walk across the sizzling sand toward the edge of the water. It's so nice when it finally turns into firm, wet mud that squishes up between our toes. We smile at each other with our orange-colored mouths. I'm always extra careful though, because one time I stepped on a large piece of green glass, probably from a 7-Up or Mountain Dew bottle. Stupid teenagers like to bust them on the rocks. Mom came to my rescue and wrapped my foot in my Chewbacca towel. The bloodstains never came out, and we had to throw it in the garbage. I almost cried. Our footprints wash away behind us as the water hugs our ankles, and we continue on until it tickles the tops of our shoulders. Being this far from Mom gives us a grown-up feeling, like we're big enough now to take care of ourselves, at least for a little while. Some shaggy-haired teenager tries to skip a Nerf football across the top of the water, and it splashes us in the face. Lucy's a bit freaked out and starts heading back to shore, but I stand my ground. Not gonna let some jerkhead ruin my day. Jerkhead is the only swear word I'm allowed to say now. I said jerk off once, but like the freezer stunt, Dad put an end to it real quick. I'm still not sure why it's worse than saying jerkhead, but whatever. Lucy's good at swimming and gets to shore fast. She's a grade ahead of me and got swim lessons in gym class last year. She came home all excited and told Mom, Dad, and Uncle Jack that she learned how to do the breaststroke. Jack giggled and started flapping his hands near Mom's chest saying, breaststroke, breaststroke. Dad looked annoyed. I had to break it to Jack that he was actually doing the doggy paddle. I should know. That's all I can do when I'm in the water. The teenager yells something at me, but I don't hear him exactly.
Are you deaf or dumb? I said toss it back.
This time I just pretend not to hear him.
Toss it back or I'll slug you.
I give in and grab the heavy, soggy football and hurl it as far as my skinny little arm could, which wasn't very far. It lands halfway between us, and I can see the scowl on his stupid red face as he's forced to go get it. I want to laugh, but I stop myself. He's pretty big and could probably drown me with just one hand. Throwing the football kind of forces me backwards, and now the sway of the pond starts pulling me even further from the shore. I'm not worried, because I can always walk and paddle back from anywhere, as long as I can reach the ground. Something brushes past my leg, and I look down, but the water is too dark to see what it is. As fun as it is to feel grown up, I decide I've had enough. Dang horsefly starting to circle me anyway. One time we were up north, and I was on my inflatable raft mining my own beeswax when this one horsefly stung me. It wasn't sharp like a bee sting, but more of an achy bite. My dad heard me scream as I flipped over into the deep lake water. It was only a matter of seconds before I felt him pull me right up to safety. He asked what happened, and I told him that a giant fly attacked me. He laughed but tried to hide it. I was really confused. Someone starts playing John Cougar on a boombox. We have that same album at home. It's called American Fool, and my aunt plays that and Rick Springfield whenever she babysits us, and we all dance together in the living room. The long head of a turtle swims by, and I realize that I'm still drifting, and I'm now pretty far from everyone. I go to step down, but there's nothing there. It feels like I stepped off the edge of a cliff. My head goes under so fast that I'm not even able to take a breath. I paddle hard, trying to get my mouth above the surface to breathe, and barely do, taking in as much air as possible. Now that I bought some time, I allow myself to sink further down, hoping to find the ground. From there, I could push off with my legs to help get me up and away from this sarlacc pit. No luck. It seems to be bottomless. It takes twice the energy to get back up. The weight of the water increases with every stroke. Feels like I'm swimming in malto meal. Another quick breath. Yelling for help isn't an option. I can't risk screaming out all my air before going under again. Plus, they wouldn't hear me over the music anyway. I swallow some thick, filthy beach water, causing me to cough while an aching lump fills my throat. My body's thrashing and fighting to get back up again, but only my eyes rise above the surface this time. I can see Mom, but she's kind of blurry, growing even more distant. The lifeguard flexes his arm while staring down at his own bicep while the rescue buoy hangs next to him on a hook attached to his chair. This next attempt, this final burst is all I have left in me. If I don't make it this time, I'm finished, done, history, kaput, dead. My desperate movements fall short. Water shoots up my nose when I try to steal one last breath, burning like fire ants to my brain. Feels like I have hardening cement for blood. I'm out of options. Time slows down as I say goodbye to Mom and Lucy. I think about Dad being at work, having no idea this is happening. Mom told us that they were going to have another baby soon. Wonder if I was finally going to have a brother. I say goodbye to him, too. The muffled sounds of the beachgoers shrinks into silence. Every muscle relaxes and I let myself sink. The last of the bubbles tickle out of my nose and float up, disappearing into the flicker of sun shining through the liquid ceiling, sending my final exhale out into the world. Something brushes past me again, but this time I can see what it is. It's ghostly figures floating by, and they're small like me. They begin holding hands and skipping in a circle. Did they die here too? Is it Chloe and her friends welcoming me to the other side? Two of the beings release their grips, creating a small gap, and one of them waves me in to join their underwater game of Ring Around the Rosie. I kick at the water to propel myself toward them, but my foot suddenly collides with something. It's the bottom. I can't believe it. With both feet, I tried launching myself all the way back up to the surface, but instead, I'm somehow already standing tall with my head easily above the water. What's happening? I cough like crazy to clear out my lungs and gasp in a ridiculous amount of air. This is followed by a scream of relief that no one can hear over the general madness of the beach. I see Mom roll over to sun her back. I'm not out of danger yet, but with this second chance, I'm now filled with adrenaline. That happened to me once when Dad took me to the emergency room during a severe asthma attack. The doc gave me a shot of adrenaline, and in less than a minute, I was running around the hospital feeling great. Dad just smiled when I got back and said, "Powerful stuff, huh?" The water forces me to struggle in slow motion, fighting every move as I try to make my way back to the shore. I know that one wrong step could land me right back in the sinkhole. All I can hear is my breathing. Now I understand when people say that minutes can sometimes feel like hours. The water drops from my chin, to my shoulders, to my sunken chest, my belly, hips, knees, and finally toes. I collapse on the shore, crawling past the lifeguard who's now flexing his boobs one at a time. What a jerk-off. And then I get all the way up to Mom's feet. Heart's pounding inside my chest like it wants out. Every muscle's cramped. She hears my frantic breathing and flips over, lifting her sunglasses to her forehead. "What's the matter?" she asks, probably thinking I'm having asthma problems. I almost died. I fell in a giant hole and saw ghost kids. I think one of them was Chloe. She doesn't believe me and goes back to sunbathing. I guess I've cried wolf one too many times with all my usual wild stories. "Well, stay out of water. Drink pop," she says in her heavy Korean accent, pulling her big dark shades back down. I'm too exhausted to try to make her believe me, so I just take a sip of my Sunkiss, now more lukewarm than ice cold, and roll to my back, letting out a sigh of frustration. Tears begin welling up at the sides of my eyes, and I quickly wipe them away before Lucy sees as she bounces over from her half-finished sandcastle to ask what's going on. "Nothing," is all I say as I turn away. The warm sand below sticks to my body in swim trunks. I wiggle to burrow deeper into it, making a sort of sand angel. Feels good to be this connected to the nice, safe ground after what I just went through. The air has cooled a bit, and the rare breeze drifts me off to sleep. Right here, at the clay hole, next to Mom.
Author's note. I'll always remember how I felt at that moment. It was a paradoxical mixture of feeling vulnerable yet invincible at the same time. Exhausted but fully alive. It's a sensation I haven't had to that extent ever since. A question still haunts me every time I revisit that near-death experience. Did I actually survive that August afternoon? Or did I really drown and this is all the afterlife or some alternate version of my former reality? I visit the site of the clay hole every now and then. For some reason, I'm always drawn back to it, like it's calling out to me. I stand where the beach area used to be, now just dirty ground covered with weeds, and look out across the water. I imagine what could exist down there below the now scummy surface. Probably nothing too exciting. But what if the rumors are true, and Chloe's ghost is still down there? I imagine she'd be holding hands with her friends, forever skipping around and around, just waiting for others to come and join the circle. Oh, and before I forget to tell you, I did end up getting a brother. Thanks for listening.